go through. So if we knew an app was not accessible, to go through on how a workaround or how we would make that app acceptable if it was needed. So it was really easy, kind of, well, what are the learning outcomes, what is this app being used for, and how we can accommodate students that might have a disability. So we had those created, so we knew on the onset basically what we call an EAP, which is an equal effective alternate access plan created for each app. And we tasked the app liaisons to help faculty look through all their apps and make sure that we had these worksheets on accessibility for all the apps.
So there's one faculty who's sort of the ringleader for each department, and that's the app liaison. So it's sort of their duty to keep tabs on what new apps faculty are discovering and make sure that either the faculty test them or they would sometimes end up testing them themselves for accessibility. And as you all probably know, the iPad is a pretty accessible piece of hardware. So you're all, I think this is you're all iPad people, right? So you know there's the voiceover settings, and you can make it read to you and invert the colors. So that's in fact why we went with Apple. One of the major reasons was because of its accessibility.
I have a couple of questions. It goes back to the assessments. The first one is, I noticed you had like a control group of those students that did not have iPads versus those that did. Was that a student choice, or was that a function of the type of classes they took and the faculty not using the iPads? And then the second question I had was, in terms of assessments, you said that you took a survey to get your assessment survey, the survey results. Were grades the only metric that you measured to look at student gain or actually student meeting student learning goals or whatever?
Okay, so on the first one, the design of the assessment, first of all, it's really hard to get faculty to do assessment. So we were thrilled that we got anything out of this first group. But those were all done within an iPad class. So the way they were designed is the faculty member would deliver a lecture without the iPad. So the traditional way, they would write on the board, they would show a diagram, they would talk to it. And the students were asked to put their iPads away. And then the next meeting, the faculty would deliver another lecture, a new lecture, but of equivalent difficulty, this time using the iPad as an active tool for engagement. So they would use it as a clicker. The student would have the PowerPoint, they'd be annotating slides. They would, in one great application, the faculty would ask the student to draw a picture, say it was mitosis or the phylogenetic tree. The student and the faculty would be walking around untethered, helping out where need be, and then they would be asked to submit their picture to our learning management system, which is Moodle. The professor would say, okay, got time to turn them in, and they would take a snapshot and send them in Moodle. And then they would run the assessment again. So after the traditional method and then the iPad method, they would administer a quiz. And so those are the results that you saw. And so it was done 3 times. One faculty member did it in 2 separate sections. Second one did it in 1 section. And the results were, and they were downright jubilant. Frankly, no one really expected to see, these are statistical wizards, such radical improvement in scores. So it was a huge light bulb went on and lots of enthusiasm. Okay. So that was the assessment. Your second question, grades are not the only thing that we looked at. We will be able to release soon our comprehensive assessment report. So other outcomes we looked at were student satisfaction, faculty satisfaction, and then change in behaviors. So, what are students actually doing with their iPads? Mm-hmm. So the short answer there is, yes, we have some challenges. Our 2 biggest ones are that not all faculty are using them equally. So frankly, I can't remember if there was a quote included. I think there was one quote in the slides about a student who said, well, the only thing my professor asked me to do was take an exam on the iPad. That's not worth it. So there's a lot of resentment when faculty don't use the tablet thoroughly. And the other source of resentment is when the student just went out and bought their new Samsung Galaxy, right? And then they come to class and they're asked to buy an iPad. So it's not that they don't love the tablets. I think universally we're seeing people like the tablets. but it's largely the cost factor and feeling like they're used to their full potential.
Are there any plans to do any kind of assessment of learning goals within a classroom or meeting the learning goals within a department, say, from iPad use, versus not, but just to see if those learning goals are met, or any plans to use the products that the students use as their own folders, their own electronic folders to take with them to job interviews or whatever?
Hopefully, I mean, we're not quite there yet. I think that would be a great outcome. In terms of achieving learning goals, you can all probably imagine assessment's tricky with the multifunctional device because of the noisy signal problem, right? So you have to factor out all the other conditions that could be causing the scores to go up. I mean, say the instructor's more enthusiastic, say the tests are different, and also in other classes they may be using a laptop as well. So it's really